Off top, there are 10 times as many bacteria in your body than human cells. Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show presented by Allstate. Throw your hands up. We are joined by Benjamin Solak. This time he puts his hands up properly. Last time he was here, he threw them up like he was under arrest, and I loved him ever since. Charlie Kravitz is here as he always is. Benjamin, my man, high school drumline captain, noted percussionist. Noted rhythmist. The man who puts the soul in Solak, Benjamin Solak. What's up, buddy?
How we doing? We got playoff teams. We got 18 teams now. I never have to think about again until 2 months from now. What a thrill.
You cut right to the chase. I gave you so much stuff to work with. You get right to the football. I'm fine with that.
All I feel is relief. That every game left will matter. Thank God. Oh, the regular season is long, man. They're going to make it longer.
All right. Well, because I appreciate how you want to get to the point, I will not make any jokes about your fleece or your water bottle. We'll just move right on to the football.
I'm cozy as can be. What are we talking about? It's 15 degrees outside.
Dominique can't talk about cozy. You need to explain what happened when you arrived at the studio.
All right. I had a big dinner, and then we had a late night, so I had a lot of coffee. So I had to go to the bathroom. I shoot it to the studio, straight to the bathroom. Coat doesn't come off. And it was just, I had to use the restroom with my coat on. It was
You're pooping in a parka.
We've all done it. It's happened before. It'll happen again. Listen, if you're comfortable, you're comfortable.
I'm just happy I made it.
Yeah.
I'm just happy I made it. Charlie, man, threw me under the bus. That's all right. I'm fine with it.
It's all right. Speaking of crappy performances, should we talk about Sam Darnold?
That's the only reason why you did.
That's what I did. I wanted to set up that.
Set up a very bad Vikings.
I had it in my head before we did this because you said you were going to start the show with that. So I was like, I have to.
I decided to start the show with our little drummer boy.
I can't pivot. I cannot. I'm not an ambi transitioner.
Speaking of getting drummed, the Minnesota Vikings.
That would have been good. Okay, so we're coming off the Sunday night game, Lions-Vikings. We thought it was another potential game of the year. And for a little bit, it seemed like, oh my God, look at these defenses. Aaron Glenn held up his part of the bargain. We got a lot of close-up shots of Brian Flores dueling with Ben Johnson. Then in the second half, the Lions pulled away. Jahmyr Gibbs had 4 touchdowns. And Sam Darnold, I don't know what happened. You guys are going to have to explain it to me because it looked like he had multiple open touchdown passes to Jordan Addison. He was not the quarterback that we have become accustomed to over the course of the season. And the Lions clinched the number 1 seed, dropping the Minnesota Vikings to the 5th spot. Where do you want to start with this game?
Yeah, I think first we need to start with some more respect for the Lions. I think before we get into the X's and O's, and I think we have a good understanding, or at least I feel like I have a good understanding of some of the reasons why this happened. First of all, we need to acknowledge that it happened, and no one believed it was going to happen. I can't say no one. I think most of us have expected that the Lions' injuries will catch up to him. And the most shocking thing about this game is that the Lions' defense is what won them this game. Their defense was the reason why they won this game, and we thought that the defense was going to be a problem that Goff and Johnson would have to overcome throughout the course of this year, but not tonight. Their defense came up big, outplayed the opposing offense, and put them in position and bought them time until they could figure out the answers on offense. So that to me was shocking. Of course, they lost Terry and Arnold, it seems like, in this game. Another defender going down, but who knows? It feels like it doesn't matter for the Lions at this point because all of the hype that Dan Campbell is selling us apparently is real.
And I can promise you one thing. No matter what the injury is to Terry and Arnold, there will be a report that he'll be good to go for the Super Bowl if they get there. Guaranteed.
It drives me crazy, man. Every single time they talk about Hutch, who may be back for the Super Bowl. Okay, in the sense that things can happen in the future, but no one is banking on this. No one in Detroit thinks this is going to happen. Yeah. It is, man, it's so, we overinflate things always, right? We talk about how good Mahomes is, and maybe we go overboard and this and the other thing, right? It's so easy to just let the snowball roll. The Lions are so unbelievably well coached, and we probably are still underestimating it. They get up for every single big game. They have not yet once in the Dan Campbell era, when they were bad, when they were mid, and now when they're good and now they're great, have they had a big opponent in a primetime environment at home, and have they just face planted? They are there. They are fired up every single time. You think at some point they're going to run out of the gas, and they just don't. And then from the schematic perspective, right, from the X's and O's on the field, what Aaron Glenn's doing with such an empty cupboard is just, it's not just preposterously good and impressive. It is the thing that you want every defensive coordinator to do that they don't do, which is, okay, like if you're, okay, I'm going to be weak in the secondary. I accept this. Some guys are going to get open. It's going to happen. Let's win on a different battlefield. Let's go blitz the quarterback. Let's go create chaos in the pocket. It is beyond, it's not just like clever. It is humble. It is understanding your limits, understanding where your bread is buttered, and then going from there. Like the Lions coaching staff, which, who knows how many games we're going to see Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn together. But right now, man, this trio, they've got it. They have it in such a good and just correct and exciting way. They're fun to watch, man.
The Lions have this impact on everybody.
Yes.
That like we all turn into these evangelists. We get all fired up and hyped like we could actually still get a snap or two. But
Yeah.
I think being down to your third and fourth cornerback. So most teams don't play a lot of man coverage. Most teams don't have two good cornerbacks. This team is down to third and fourth level cornerbacks still playing a lot of man coverage. So one of the things that I saw that jumped out to me in this game plan was they were getting them into real third down situations where you kind of have to throw. So doing well on early downs. But on the third down situations where you expect this team to be like heavy aggressive blitz, they still did some blitzing, but it felt like the key to what they did defensively was more about deciding what they were going to take away. And they were doubling Jefferson. They were doubling Addison on occasion. And they had decided you're going to have to beat us with Hockenson. You're going to have to throw it to the back. You're going to have to use Naylor. And it was too late for the Vikings to figure it out. And those guys couldn't make those plays. That seemed to me, if I were looking at this game plan, figuring out what was the like big idea of what they wanted to come into this game doing was get them to a third down passing situation. And then even when they're blitzing, they still on occasion played a blitz where they would have zero in behind because they pulled the safety out to help double with Justin Jefferson. It's like, we're going to make you read this defense out and find some other answer and not give you too much time to think about it.
Yeah, and they've done a really good job, Glenn and his staff, at they do an excellent job beating protection rules. They're always getting a guy in the back. They're always looping somebody down the pipe. Like, they've done a nice job getting, okay, we're not going to win off the outside with Hutch. We're going to be interior presence, interior push. You are not going to be able to step up. You're going to fade away from throws, right? Darnold got a lot of throws off in this game. It's just, okay, we think that we can hassle the guy, right? We think we can make the throws feel uncomfortable. Like, Darnold was night and day from what he has been weeks 1 through 16 or 1 through 17 to this week in terms of the accuracy and the play under pressure, because the hits accumulate and the heat accumulates. We make the guy uncomfortable. We shake the confidence a little bit. Yeah. They Deion Sanders, Justin Jefferson, right?
Mm-hmm.
They put Amik Robertson on Jefferson. Right. They put corner 2 on Jefferson, letting corner 1, Terran Arnold, get way less safety help so that they could then, okay, corner 2 man coverage. Then we're going to go get safety. We're going to go get doubles over Jefferson. And so it was it felt very much like a playoff game plan, right? Regular season, we run our stuff. These are our defenses, our system. And then you get to the playoffs, start getting a lot more bespoke, a lot more custom to the opponent. This felt extremely playoff from the Lions defensive staff. And probably when they left the meeting rooms on Thursday, it was, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to give them some big plays. They're going to get a couple on us. If we can hold them to 21-24, we got them. I don't think they thought 9 was in the cards. They were lights out on some of the high variance stuff. They got all the red zone stops, got the fourth down stops, but still, that's building a good game plan.
You were explaining early on, and I hate to do this. I don't really hate to do it. It's a little bit funny, but you're explaining Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. It's like what you were explaining early on.
I was going to cut him off and say it. He's 100% with seeing ghosts.
You're and that. So I would say that a lot of, obviously, the Lions deserve a tremendous amount of credit for what they accomplished, but there were plays to be made. And because of the way the rules are set up, there will always be plays to be made for an offense. You're not going to completely suffocate and give them no opportunities. But he missed those opportunities through the course of the game when he had them. He had Hockenson down the seam, and he missed that. He had Addison, it looked like, open in the end zone a couple times late in the game where he missed those chances. Those were opportunities that he could have made, and it changed the complexion of this game. So I don't want to get out of this game without being like honest about what we saw. It was incredible defense for most of the game, but there were some failings for the Vikings on their side of the ball, especially at the quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, tonight felt like the night that Sam Darnold became Sam Darnold, for lack of a better term.
Does that seem unfair to you a little bit, Solak, or no?
Yes, but also I've been very like, I don't know about Sam, like, this is too much. And then I went on Mina's show last week. I was like, all right, I buy it. Like, Sam's got it. He's there, which means absolutely yes. All right. He werewolf turned back into old Sam Darnold the moment he got me. The Vikings were not as bad as 9 points looked. Sam was not as bad as the box score looked. There was a lot of near miss stuff, and obviously, like, if you go back and you watch some of the other Darnold games, some of the shaky ones, like the Cardinals one sticks out in my mind. There were some Darnold misses and some bad throws that were just erased by superhero Jefferson and superhero Hawkinson. And so this has been a little bit of still the Vikings DNA. The thing that I thought was a little bit more concerning to me was just Kevin O'Connell is very accustomed to, I walk out my opening script, I score points, I generate a lead, and now I can live in this world where play action works really nicely, right? Because all right, I'm in my run sets and I have time in the pocket. I don't need to worry about getting my quarterback too much into a rhythm. And it felt like after they got the first couple punches in their face in this game, they ran very quickly to, okay, well, if we just get one big Justin Jefferson catch, we'll be fine. Like, oh, just one huge explosive will be okay. And they never got to quick game. They never got to rhythm stuff. They never got to running game. It felt like they didn't really know how to act when they were down in the count a little bit, because they haven't been there a lot this season. They're 14-2, 14-3 now, for God's sakes. And so that to me was the more like, oh, like O'Connell kind of forgot what it's like to have to slowly ramp a quarterback into a game. He hasn't had to do this in a while.
They did have one blitz where they left Justin Jefferson in man coverage without help, and he got that big play.
Yeah.
Then they never did that again for the rest of the game. Really, no, we're good on that. I think you bringing up all these other options that they didn't get to, like, it gives me the transition, I think, into what I saw the Lions do. And so, like, the Lions were struggling too in the first half to put points on the board. And the big change that I noticed in the second half was throwing the ball on first down.
Yeah.
Like, the third quarter was all about throwing the ball on first down. They got ahead of the sticks, and they not only had manageable third downs, but they completely avoided third down altogether a lot in the second half. And that was a big portion of their drive. And to your point, the Vikings wanted to attack down the field. The Lions were completely comfortable with the short passing game as their strategy in the second half. And that's, like, again, to your point about coaching and adjustments, they recognized what the Vikings were doing to them in the first half. They recognized that they needed to change, that their best passing situations were first down, and that they're not going to have the time because Decker can't hold up against Grenard, and they're not going to have the time to sit back there. We're going to have to adjust our game plan, and that's, like, it speaks to the coaching in this game. And we all, not to disrespect the Vikings coaching staff, I think last week we would have said that they might have up there.
Staff.
But to your point, the way you started this show is we underappreciate how well coached the Lions are.
Yeah. The Lions ran on 7 of their first 8 first downs, which I know because I was about to send a tweet where it's like the Lions have ran on 8 of their 9 first downs, but then they went play action pass and golf through that pick to the tip drill ball to Ivan Pace, and I was like, oh man, ruined my stat. But they'd run on 7 of their first 8 first downs, and it was not effective, right? It was, okay, just establishing it, right? Just 3 yards. It felt very much like the Lions wanted to shrink the game a little bit, right? Let's shorten this. Let's minimize the number of possessions. We kind of expect to be a little bit liable on defense tonight. Let's protect them by leaving them on the sideline, right? And then you walk out in the third quarter, you're like, okay, well, we got a lead. They're reeling, and we've established it. Like, the play action pass is available to us. Let's look for a couple of big play opportunities, because even with not throwing the ball down the field, you're getting Jahmyr Gibbs on the swing. You're getting Jameson Williams on the shallow. That can be 5 yards. That can be 9 yards. It can very quickly be 40 yards, right? And we know we can do this with still a low time to throw. So yeah, I thought they came out of the halftime locker room and they understood, okay, we've seen how the dominoes are set up now. We have an opportunity to actually build a lead here and then really put the heat on Sam, and that's how it went.
Okay, well, we're on the Lions. That brings us into our check-in presented by Allstate. Throw your hands up. We should check in on Jared Goff, who had another exceptional season with the Lions and carried them to their first 1 seed in, I don't know, decades. It seems like
forever,
half
always.
a century.
I think they've never been the 1 seed. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the best they've been is the 2 seed.
Yeah, and he overcame 2 interceptions today. Could have been a third, but continued to play exceptional football and led the team in the second half. So what do you think has changed with Jared Goff to make this offense run this way?
I loved it because I think in the third quarter they went 8 passes on first down with 1 run in the third quarter. And the reason why I particularly loved it is it's something that I've seen them do a few times this season is when the game is on the line, they lean on they lean on Jared Goff. And when Jared Goff has a bad play, they come back and decide that they're going to lean on him to make the play to get them out of it. It's very different from the Jared Goff that we've been sold and we believed was here, and it's kind of not different from the Sam Darnold that we saw, but they do treat him like that. Like, they trust him in a way that I don't think as we've caught up with our opinion of Sam Darnold is the way that they feel about Sam Darnold.
Yeah. The Goff thing is he's
I said
playing.
Darnold. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
meant Goff the whole time.
No, it's
whatever. They knew what I meant.
Yeah. It's always hard to update your priors because all of our priors live in tweets, right? I have Lions fans once again retweeting my why did the Lions draft Jameer Gibbs at 12 take, right? We do it every single time he has a good game. It's hard to update your priors. Goff in 2021, when he first arrived to the Lions, was big question marks about this guy coming out of Los Angeles. He has now strung together enough starts that even when he began with the Lions, before Ben Johnson was the OC, Anthony Lynn was there, he was still a better guy than he was the first time around with the Rams, just because with experience, you start to learn what you can't get away with, right? You start to get a little bit of a better feel for game situations and not making some of those mistakes. So now you give a guy 3 years of confidence, the continuity, right? We don't see a lot of continuity on the offensive side of the ball in the NFL anymore. Everybody's moving jobs, right? He has had Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell in his ear for 3.5 years now, because Ben started taking over play calling halfway through 2021. That is a long time together. That level of experience and continuity just builds a degree of like faith. You know, we can all do this together, you know, yippee-ki-yay. But also, like, they've been down a lot of holes at this point, right? They've been in a lot of tight spots. They've gotten out of a lot of jams. So it's just an internal belief. Like, all right, we've done this before. We can do this again. You know, here we go, ready, break. And that comes with the length of career now for Jared Goff, where, yeah, he's become a different guy than he was.
Lions, I think we all agree that they have reestablished themselves as sort of the team we thought they were going to be early in the season. We continued to write them off with injuries. Not write them off, but be concerned that they'd hit the point of no return with injuries. I want to push the Vikings forward a tiny bit. They're playing the Rams now in the first round of the postseason. That's their only other double-digit loss this season. They're going into that game as 2.5-point road favorites. Will any of the stink of this game carry with them next week?
I mean, so there's also just the idea of like the Lions flu. Like everybody who plays the Lions gets beat up so physically that they lose the next week. And then you combine that with playing an opponent that they did have some trouble with. I still think they're a really good team.
They're awesome. Yeah.
I still think they're a really good team. They're a well-coached team. I still think they're better than the Rams and should beat the Rams, Ben. Am I right?
Yeah, the last 3 competitive games we've seen the Rams play, because obviously in this game, Jimmy Garoppolo was in, you know, against Seattle. It was 12 points against the Niners in the rain, 19 points against the Jets, and then I want to say it was another, 12, 15 points against the Cardinals, if memory serves. Like, the Rams had that great game against the Bills, and we all just crashed through the wall juggernaut style. We were like, the Rams are back. And then that's it. Like that's the only time it's happened. Their offensive line plays very up and down. The running game, they can't rely on it as much. Stafford just doesn't move as well. Like the Rams are a very gettable team. I think that you're going to see a good wagon circling. I think you're going to see a good performance in the Vikings. I expect them to beat the Rams in Los Angeles, right? Everybody says, oh no, they lost home field advantage. Yeah, they get to play the Rams. And like that's going to be 50-50 in that stadium. You don't got to worry about it too much. I think they win that. And then they get the Lions again in the divisional round potentially, and that's where things get really fun.
Yeah, we had the hot mic moment of Dan Campbell with the warm handshake with KOC being like, hey, might see you again here in 2 weeks.
Which sounds nice, but is actually such a dig. It's well done. It's well executed by Dan.
So, I mean, it feels like none of us have really lost. I guess it's not true. I lost a little bit of faith in the Vikings after this game, and it's because Sam Darnold doesn't have the credibility, I think, for us to be like, it's just a bad week. You know, like I think even despite the fact that he's had such a good season, I'm just being honest with like I trying to decipher why I feel different is I don't think this defense is suddenly bad. I don't think this offense is suddenly bad. It just came down to Sam Darnold didn't had the game that we've been waiting for.
It was those 2 goal line stands earlier in the first half too, where Darnold missed open receivers on both of them on 4th down plays. Both of them were Addison. One was the out, one was where he flew up in the middle of the field. The game would look totally different, and our opinion on this would be completely different if they had gone up at that point. I guess it would be 20.
I'm not ringing the alarm bells on the Vikings as a team at all. 3 road wins to make it to the Super Bowl instead of 2 home wins. That's where the alarm bells ring. It's just like, all right, the road became a lot tougher because of the loss. Now you got to go it.
Is it just me, but the perception of the Lions also, like I feel like I have to stop.
Definitely.
Because I think up until now, I've been saying, they're not going to be able to win enough games because their defense is not good enough. They went up against one of the best offenses in football.
We looked for excuses of why to pick other teams. So there was the Eagles, it was the Vikings. Did anyone else in the NFC get in there? I think it was just the Eagles, Vikings.
Yeah.
Green Bay. Yeah.
The 7th Packers.
Yeah. We came home to the right decision. Took us to week 18.
They are a serious outfit.
I'm going to go through the rest of the lines for next weekend. Let me know what stands out for you. Great water bottle. Hydrate or dihydrate, man.
What is that?
Thank you.
That is the worst water bottle I've ever seen in my life.
I'm halfway through. It's my second one of the day, so I'm at like 5.5 liters right now. I'm killing it.
I would. Oh my god,
It's absurd.
I would
like a pool.
live in the bathroom if I drank that.
Yeah.
So a couple other lines for next weekend. Just tell me the line that sticks out to you guys. Chargers are -3 at the Texans. The Ravens are -9.5 against the Steelers.
Woof.
The Bills -8.5 versus the Broncos. Eagles 4.5 point favorites versus the Packers, and the Bucs 3.5 point favorites versus the Commandos.
A bunch jump out to me, but I heard Ben make a noise, so I want to follow that. Which one got most of your attention?
Yeah, the Ravens Steelers game, right? It was 9.5. You said. I think that was that.
Yep.
If memory serves, that opened at 8.5. So it's already moving towards the Ravens, and understandably so. The Ravens have been like incredible over December. The Steelers have lost 4 straight. Also, when John Harbaugh, and Mike Tomlin play, the underdog of like 3+ points is like 19-4 or something against spread. It's like the most ridiculous number you've ever heard. The Ravens are so much better than the Steelers. Yeah. However, the Ravens have not necessarily executed super well in the postseason in recent years, and they get a Steelers team that knows them very well. And the first time they played the Steelers this year, they played like a classic Ravens-Steelers blunder game that they lost to 6 field goals. Like it's very, very stinky that the Ravens are that big of favorites. That has me very worried.
Yeah, it's a shocking number for a playoff game for division rivals. However, is it just me, or do the Ravens feel like different this year, or did I feel this way about them last year also? Like
the Ravens 100% feel different this year, but okay. I can't say that because it will break my little heart when they lose the wildcard round to the Russell Wilson Steelers, right? I have the Ravens making it out of the AFC. I think they are the best team in the AFC. I think that they match up great into the Bills. I think that they're able to beat the Chiefs. Absolutely, they are. The explosive plays and some of the matchups they have on defense. I think they're the best team in the AFC. I am so certain they're going to lose the Steelers in the wildcard. Like it just is not the matchup you wanted if you're a Baltimore fan.
I appreciate that because I think most people are watching. It's like the Ravens are so good, but last year they were record-wise better than everyone, but there was still some trepidation, and I guess there's no reason not to have this Ravens playoff trepidation this year, but we just don't. Because Lamar only had 4 interceptions.
I don't think we had that much trepidation even in the Chiefs game, and then the Chiefs just parked the bus up by 2 scores in the first quarter, and we watched like the life drain out of the Ravens
Flowers
team.
Fumble at the 1. Yeah. Like that always comes down to the little plays, but then they accumulate and they become, the Ravens don't win in the postseason, and that hangs on a team, right? Even like if it's not true and it was on 4 games and Lamar was a different guy when he lost to Dean Pease in 2019, like it hangs on a team.
I'm gonna give Charlie what he wants. It's the Bucs and the Commanders. Commanders going to the Bucs. The Bucs are 3.5 point favorites, and the Bucs barely beat the Saints, who I didn't even think were serious about this. But yeah, go ahead.
I mean, look, I get it. Like, there's a really rough history of rookie quarterbacks in the postseason, and the history gets even rougher when you send them on the road. CJ Stroud won a playoff game last year. Of course, it was great. It led us to thinking he was going to be the second coming of Patrick Mahomes, and this year was not as great. But I get that the Commanders are better than the Bucs. They have the best player in the game. They have Jaden Daniels is not like any other rookie quarterback we've seen since Dan Marino in 1983, maybe Andrew Luck in 2012.
It's going to take a lot for me not to say something after that sentence.
Don't worry, my quarterback's better than your quarterback. I'm not talking about Tanner McKee also, just for the record. I'm talking about the real quarterback.
He was on fire today.
But no, I mean, look, if you want to say the Bucs are going to win this game because rookie quarterback, the Commanders have a bad defense, Cliff Kingsbury could run out of plays. There's a million reasons why, but I'm not going to give up faith in this game. Like, they should be fine. And the 3.5 point line to me seems off because the Commanders have been a better team all season. I mean, I nauseated you.
How much are we, or how good are we on Jaden Daniels' leg soreness? I could have come back into the game if I wanted to, but also I was playing very poorly against the Cowboys in what should have been a meaningless Week 18 game.
It was a meaningless Week 18 game. The Packers lost. Cairo Santos season.
The Jaden hits accumulating. I'm less than 100% in my first season. Already has me just worried about the young man's career. That's my thing. I'm to me, baked into that line is some uncertainty that he's at 100%. And like, if he's not at 100% on his legs, it's such a dramatic impact on how that offense works. And so the Commanders, who are the luckiest fourth down team in history, by the way, in 2024, mind you, I have my questions about them against the Bucs. I do.
No, that is completely fair. The Commanders' offense was completely different when Jaden Daniels had banged up ribs. Like, seriously, he was playing we were all so excited about that offense before the rib injury because it seemed like they're going to be one of the best units in football. And since then, he wasn't the same type of player for the following 4 weeks and then got it back together. But I'm assuming that everything that happened this week was a massive precaution and he'll be completely fine and he'll eviscerate the Bucs next week. And I'll be way too excited going into the divisional round.
Ben, you're working to undercut a seasons-long project that I've been working on. What you don't know about Charlie Kravitz is he is such a jaded sports fan because he's been a Washington sports fan for his entire life. And this year, we finally, with some hard work and some great play by Jaden Daniels, we finally got to the point where he actually cares and roots for his team and doesn't laugh at them when they stink and expects them to win and gets his hopes up and celebrates and yells and doesn't look mopey and sad, so much so that he thinks that it's disrespectful to have his team as an underdog with a rookie quarterback going on the road to a division winning team, and you're trying to talk some sense to him. I don't want sense. I want crazy fan Charlie.
He's speaking from the Philadelphia quarterback jealousy perspective. I'm not taking it seriously.
I have a very good buddy who's a Commanders fan, and I would say like once every month, like, oh, Commanders lost, whatever, he'll text me and he'll just be like, say something good about Jaden. I'm like, Jaden's very fast. He's like, all right, we're good. Like, he needs constant like reassurance. So it's like a foster dog. Like, no, I'm still here. It's okay. Jaden's still fast. Jaden can still throw the ball. We're gonna be okay.
We just got out of that with Charlie. Charlie believes.
There was a point today, I'm not going to lie, when I was like, oh, God, the Commanders are going to lose to the Cowboys. Of course, because that's just classic. The Packers are going to pull this game out against the Bears, and we're going to lose by 30 to the Eagles. Next round. Like, Jalen Hurts will be healthy in week 1. It'll be 30.
All right, get your guppy 1-score win against the Buccaneers, then go lose by 30 to the Lions the next week. That'll feel all the better.
Ooh, we don't want the Lions.
We don't.
We don't
you
want
the Packers beat the Eagles. Then you get the Lions.
We don't want the Lions.
Oh no, the Packers aren't beating the Eagles. I'm a prisoner of the moment right now. That's not possible.
It doesn't seem possible. Let me look. I mean, I'm not scared. Like, the Bills-Broncos line is not one that's all that relevant.
It should be big. It should.
Yeah, like it should be big. Eagles-Packers, I think, is probably it's right.
Yeah. That line's moved. That opened like 3.5. I think there's some Jordan Love worry in terms of exactly how healthy he's going to be. I know, just like Jaden, they said, oh, he could have gone back in the game. Like, I don't know how much I buy that. Well, so I think there's some injury baked in there.
Jaden's still in the concussion protocol.
Jalen.
Yeah, Jalen.
Oh, Jalen. No, Jaden. I'm sorry.
Don't. No.
Yes, Jaden is nowhere near the concussion protocol.
Leg nowhere near the head.
Yeah, I think the Commanders going to win. I hope they do. I want to see full fan Charlie.
The line that jumped out to me was actually the Chargers-Texans one.
Really?
Chargers, just -3 on the road. It just shows how little faith we have in this Texans team.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like astounding.
Yeah, I told myself that if the Chargers drew the Texans, if it was Steelers, I was going to be a little bit questionable. But I was like, all right, if the Chargers draw the Texans, I'm probably taking this line. And then it opened. It was at 1.5 before the 4 o'clock games, and I was like, oh, goodness gracious, yes. Like, this Texans team is drawn dead. Like, the offensive line's not that good. The secondaries, losing Jalen Petrie has been a big obstacle for them. The lack of the running game, the injuries of wide receiver. Like, Houston's been a mess all year, and I think the Chargers are just too well coached. That's going to be, I think, an ugly one.
You said I guess this isn't an official Solak prediction, but it seemed like you were saying that you have the Ravens coming out of the AFC. Does any of that change? I mean, do you think they're the best team in the AFC, or do you think they're going to win the AFC? It's kind of two different questions.
Yeah, I think they're going to win the AFC, which requires winning on the road against the Bills and the Chiefs potentially. Right. I'm aware of that. Once we get to the divisional round and it's Chiefs versus X and it's Bills and Ravens probably playing each other. At that point, it's haymakers, right? It's just goats going after one another. Anybody can be right. I'll be rooting for 6 different things every single week. Like, it's tough to come away disappointed in that AFC playoff draw. But to me, Baltimore, with the way the secondary's improved, with the changes at safety, pass rush has caught up a little bit. Kyle Van Noy playing much better over the course of the season, and then. When it comes to the postseason, I really like teams who can beat you multiple different ways. I like teams who can play different styles of games. And this Baltimore offense, man, just forget about it. Like, even without Zay Flowers, if he's gone for a week, the passing game works so beautifully through Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. The running game is so diverse. Lamar is so superlative. Like I will never ever feel good picking against that team on the road in Buffalo, in Kansas City. I won't be able to do it.
Would you be like? I mean, look, Lamar. We've talked about this. I think he's the best player in the NFL. I really thought that all year. Would you be surprised if he had another weird playoff game with how different the offense feels this year?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if he had like.
And by weird, I mean bad.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Like real bad.
Yeah.
Every time.
I think weird and bad are slightly different, but neither of them are good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the weird playoff game was last year's one against the Chiefs, where it didn't feel like he was awful. It just felt like he wasn't playing like himself. It was
I don't know. It was like a C- game from someone who was the MVP of the league.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree with you there. I guess there's difference from weird and bad, but I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They all end up in a loss.
Weird and bad.
Yeah, they were weird and bad. Yeah, I'd be surprised, I guess, given how exceptional he was this season against all types of defenses at just about every time. Like there's the game planning steps up. Ben already referenced that point. It does step up in the postseason, but there isn't a game plan that we haven't seen that Lamar didn't have an answer for so far this season. So I can't imagine that he'll just be bad. And like the turnovers, he doesn't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
Have you watched? So Lamar's thrown 4 picks this year. Have you watched them?
Oh yeah. This is every
we
week.
watched him a bunch.
Every week I've been yelling at Charlie about how's it possible that none of his interceptions are his fault. It's not okay. It's not okay.
I want to do a compilation of them, and I want to be like, if you go and you watch Lamar's picks, there's actually something really interesting you can see defenses doing. It's like I kind of give it like a very like sincere caption, and then just post the 4 picks and just see that it's all tip drill. It's really one of the most incredible quarterbacking seasons ever. It's so sick.
The one interception against the Steelers, I blame that on the receiver, but I mean that's the one that you could say like Bateman settled down. Yeah. Lamar should have thrown it to him, but it's like man coverage. You keep running,
and it's a preposterous play from Peyton Wilson. Even if you're like, it's like, oh, good play by the defense. It's a crazy.
Oh no,
no.
You're talking about. I'm talking about the recent one. You're talking about the previous Steelers one.
No,
I'm
talking about this. The other one is absolutely Rashad Bateman's fault. Yeah. Keep running on the crosser. What are we talking about?
Yeah. No, the Peyton interception was just an absurd play.
Guys. Enough Lamar glazing. They're gonna beat the brakes off the Steelers next week, and we'll probably spend 20 minutes where you anoint him like you're gonna get another pet and name him Lamar too. Let's pivot. Anything else in these playoff games, or should we pivot to a story that I find fascinating with the Mayo stuff?
We didn't make Benjamin pick an NFC team.
Oh, sure.
Who's gonna win the NFC? You're not ready to make that pick yet?
No, I felt really good about Vikings before this week. So I was like, all right, they'll either win this game or they'll lose this game, but they look so good that they'll be, I'll believe in them as a 5 seed and they'll win 3 road games. It'll be great. Now, man, like I got quarterback health questions with the Eagles. I got it with the Packers. I have huge defensive health questions with the Lions, losing Terry and Arnold. The Vikings just had that game. It's probably Lions because it's 2 home games as opposed to 3 games. The bye is such a difference maker, but it's a very tight field in the NFC.
Who's your team? Aren't you an Eagles guy?
Yeah.
You named all the teams but the Eagles. Why won't the Eagles win the NFC?
So
is this just nervous, like jinxing type stuff?
I am not enthralled with the play of the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. And accordingly, I'm concerned about them in any sort of shootout situation, in situations where they are trailing. We have seen the Eagles trail with Jalen Hurts at quarterback twice this year. As the whole game against the Bucs, which was week 4, and they had no A.J. Brown, they had no Devontae Smith, they had no Lane Johnson, right? It was a totally chalked game. And then it was the first quarter against the Ravens. They were down 9-0, right? Multiple score deficit. Other than that, we just have not seen this team have to play catch up in the second half. It hasn't happened this season. And I just talked about Kevin O'Connell and that Vikings team getting punched and kind of not knowing how to respond. It's just if you get the drop on the Eagles, I'm worried that I don't know what this passing game looks like at all. Like Tanner McKee had like 22 first half passing attempts this week, and that was the most of any Eagles quarterback this year because they just don't do that with Jalen in there. And that's great. Dominate. Offensive line's excellent. Saquon's elite. Awesome. But you're in the postseason football. You should expect to trail at some point. And I've got questions about the Eagles when they do.
We are nothing but supportive of Jalen Hurts on this show. He's a wonderful young man who's earned nothing but our respect. Okay. The Patriots came into this game with a stranglehold on the number 1 overall pick. They somehow got out-tanked by the Buffalo Bills, a 13-win team who managed to lose this game to the Patriots. The Patriots dropped from the first pick to the fourth pick. Jerod Mayo, I don't even know if he had time to shower. 20-ish minutes after the game, he was fired. There are already rumors that Mike Vrabel is the likely replacement there. They'll go through a real coaching search and probably end up with Vrabel, a real coaching search in quotation marks. What's your reaction to how this was handled, Domonique?
I mean, it's absurd. They couldn't give the man a day. They could have done this tomorrow. I don't understand what the rush is. The only thing that makes sense to me is they obviously have a plan, and they already know who the next guy is. And the next guy seems like it's going to be Mike Vrabel. Like, that would make sense to me why they would want to do it quickly. Already have Robert Kraft's quotes ready to go. Like, this is a decision that was made not yesterday, obviously, after the game, but they had already been in motion, and they'll have to bring someone in for a sham interview and then go hire Mike Vrabel, because I don't know why you do this. Even if Mike Vrabel's your guy, I don't know why you do it 20 minutes after your coach got a win.
There was a tiny part of it with this year. It's not just that they're bad. I'm sure they knew they were going to be bad all year, but it's how they were bad, the unprepared, the threats of a team mutiny.
No, you're making an argument, which I agree with. You're making an argument for why it's okay to fire Jerod Mayo after 1 year.
Yes.
I'm not saying they should have gave him another year. I'm saying they should have gave him 12 more hours. That's all. That's the only part that to me is really offensive. Is like, geez, you could let this man have a drink and celebrate his win. I don't know. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, this firing sucks. Like, in terms, like, the amount of Patriots beat writers who have a quote or a line about how actually the building knew the whole time that Jerod Mayo was actually not that prepared. There was a quote that was like, oh, Jerod was, it was clear when he got the job, he was not ready to be a head coach. He, lack of experience with game management. Yeah, he's never been a head coach. 100% of head coaches you fire who have never been head coaches you hire who have never been head coaches before lack experience in game management. They have not been head coaches. Like, a lot of this feels very much like a team that has not experienced the hiring and firing process of a new head coach in 25 years. And just, it's like the Twitter thread when Del Curry divorced his wife. Like, you don't want to be out here, man. You don't know what it's like out here for this. But I strongly agree, Domonique. There's a way to do this where, okay, we thought we had an heir apparent. It became very clear very quickly he wasn't the guy. Mike Vrabel's a hot name. We want to go get Vrabel. Like, let's move to this. There's a way to do it that's still graceful. And then there's this, like, whatever's happening now with a very rapid bombarding of leaks and, oh, Mayo not this and Mayo not that. Like, Charlie brought up, like, oh, team mutiny this, team mutiny that. If you go and you look at, like, the brass tacks of what Jerod Mayo has done, it's not great in terms of, like, game management, some of the rookies and the rotations at wide receiver. But it's also not in any way, shape, or form, like, egregious, terrible. No other coach has ever done this in the history of football. It's a guy, if he's in over his head, he's in over his head. Move on from him and go. They're acting like like Mayo was like a nightmare from day one. And I don't particularly see that in the body of work that he's done, nor do I see a reason to get that so front and center so quickly after his final game.
I think there's sometimes we forget how some of these really powerful people are extremely sensitive and very aware of the conversation around them. When you don't have the scoreboard to point to, all you do have is like what the perception is of you, and no matter how much money you get, because like that's what it seems like is they're trying to get ahead of the idea that they really blew this and make sure so much of the responsibility or blame lays at Mayo's feet. And I guess that's the reason to do it 20 minutes after the game, is the hope that it gets buried when all the other news and everything comes out. It just doesn't. It's very ugly, and it seems like, to your point about the leaks and the quotes and all the things about Jerod Mayo, it feels like they want to distance themselves from him.
Well, and it's amazing because this is the organization that never leaked for 20 plus years with Belichick and Brady. But
I agree with Dominique's point in terms of like thinking about the rich people and kind of how they think about things, because they are sprinting to Vrabel very clearly. And it's critical to remember this. Vrabel was available to be hired last year.
Right.
Bill Belichick left, and obviously they had spoken to Jerod, and they had probably given him some sort of tacit or some sort of, non-written, hey, you're going to be the guy when Bill leaves, and that's coming up and whatever. But Vrabel was available last year, and it very much feels to me like they wanted to go Vrabel. They felt like they had committed to Jerod. They stuck to Jerod, and then Jerod lost like 3 games this year, and they were like, "Oh my God, why did we not go with Vrabel? What a mess!" And now, like there was the report that Mike Vrabel was only engaging with the Jets head coaching search and interviewing there to accelerate the Patriots process. That is not how this is supposed to work in the slightest. The guy who's a candidate for a job should not be doing things because he knows your job might open you. That's that. Right. You're already walking and giving Vrabel a lot of power over how things are going to work. And Vrabel had some 1-seed Titans teams. He also had a losing record the last 2 seasons. This is not Bill Belichick reincarnate coming down the mountain the way you want it to be. I think it's a mess.
For the record, it wasn't just tacit. It was written into Jerod Mayo's contract. He was going to be the next head coach.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because what's happened here too, the way that this has come out and the Crafts sort of look incredibly messy at best and incompetent at worst, for how they've handled the last couple years, has obscured the fact that Mayo was probably a bad coach. I don't know. That's the weird thing about this is I guess he didn't perform significantly below expectations, and they have Drake May and who knows, but it didn't seem smooth.
So if everything was quiet and smooth, and it's not even just about the leaks, it's about Jerod Mayo himself.
Mm-hmm.
He had so many
all the team soft.
Yeah, so many flubs behind the microphone this year that I could understand why people would be like, well, maybe he's not ready to be a leader. He threw the offensive coordinator under the bus after a loss.
Jacoby Brissett out there to take hits.
Yeah, he said Jacoby Brissett was just out there to take hits until they were ready to move on to the talented young quarterback. There's so many of those things out there that I would potentially understand, but I don't want to get my conspiracy hat on too much. But when did they know they wanted to be done with him? Because if they made this commitment in a contract way before, no one's expecting Vrabel to become available. Vrabel becomes available. What is this year about? And if you're gonna argue all these things about him losing the team, they won. It's the last game. Yeah. That's generally how we measure the coaches who lose their teams, is the ones who start getting their blown out at the end of the year.
Yeah. Conspiracy there. Do you think the Bills were well,
absolutely,
we lose this game, we basically take Travis Hunter and another first-round pick away from the Patriots, who would have traded down from the quarterback slot at 1 and gotten presumably another first-round pick and had a defensive backfield that has Christian Gonzalez and Travis Hunter in it.
They did punt from the 35-yard line. So I do think there was a little bit of we're willing to kind of let you have the lead here and kind of see how this plays out. The other thing, the other thing, okay, Vrabel, Bill Belichick, great, cool, Patriots system, awesome. We're talking about in my opinion, a very good rookie quarterback in Drake May. And we're going to bring in a defensive-minded culture head coach who's going to make an office coordinator hire. And Vrabel, in his time with the Titans, brought in Matt LaFleur and promoted Arthur Smith, 2 guys who ended up being great OCs. So, all right, he's got an eye for it. This is for any other team, we'd be saying, go get, you have the thing to attract Ben Johnson. You have the great young quarterback. Go get an offensive-minded head coach. Pair them together forever. 10 years of happiness. If this works, the OCs just get hired away. And you got to do it again. You got to do it again, do it again. And we know that, people say, okay, never go for that model, and that's wrong. But we know that model can be challenging. And so this, again, this just immediate, because we're going for Vrabel. It's leapfrogging over. If they don't bring Ben Johnson in for a cursory interview, they're outside of their minds, man. I'm very fast to this.
This is so I agree. You bring them in and you check these offensive minded players or coordinators out. My opinion on that generally is, you're trying to fight tomorrow's war. Find a good head coach. Don't try to stave off losing your offensive coordinator by hiring somebody, and then you may never get to the point where you're good enough to do that. Find the right head coach. If it's Aaron Glenn, if it's Mike Vrabel, if it's Ben Johnson, who gives a damn what position they are most experienced coaching or what side of the ball you find the head coach. And this, of any organization, they should recognize that they had the best defensive mind, and somehow they ended up with the best quarterback in NFL history, despite the fact that he went through multiple coordinators. I think it's such a mistake to start trying to protect the future of your offense with the selection of your head coach before you even have a good offense.
I hear you. The guy in my mind when I say that is just Ben Johnson. If I am Ben Johnson, I'm looking and all the jobs are available to me. I think the Patriots' job in Drake May is potentially the most attractive. And if this very public commitment to Vrabel closes that door before it even opens, I think that's a mismanagement of the timing and the messaging that's gone around with the firing. So Ben Johnson was the guy in my mind, but I do agree with you. I think the defensive head coach thing is overstated. I overstated it. Yeah.
And it's the same thing like they committing to Jerod Mayo. Like it's kind of a similar process of like pre-committing before you have to. Like you should check out all the options that are available to you. All right, let's wrap it up. Benjamin, thank you so much for joining us. This has been fun. I'm excited to get into the playoffs and make sure all your projections are wrong. This is the Domonique Foxworth Show. Thank you, Charlie. Presented by Allstate. Throw your hands up. And we out. Thanks all the great producers. Love you, Podville. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.